put that in,
Is it
Jesus Christ.
recorded? That's definitely going in. There was a bit when I was at the IPA, I played really well against Evo, and I was at 5-0 up, and then she won a frame, and she did a little dance, and I was like, well, that's going on.
That's going on.
Yeah. So Pro Series just gone. Long weekend. A lot went off, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there was good, bad, and ugly, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So what were your results? Obviously the second
I think you know about the second event.
A bit, yeah.
A disappointing weekend for me on a personal level, obviously, especially winning the last tour. Don't get me wrong, I'm not walking into any tour expecting to win it, but
yeah,
I was hoping to, get a bit of momentum, and it just didn't happen. I played well against Michaela first night, I've never played Michaela before, actually. Lovely girl.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, and she's got a lot of potential, actually.
Yeah,
I think her shot selection is really good.
so I won that quite comfortably, 7-2. And then in the morning against Becky, I mean, both of us were really quite poor.
Yeah.
Chopping balls, missing balls. And then she kicked in and I didn't. And then, it's just one of those games where sometimes you just have to come away saying, that weren't good enough. And you kind of go what you deserve with that one. Second event, I played Claire Smith. And as we've talked about before, I think Claire's, underrated. I spoke to Claire about that and not it being an offensive term. And I struggled. She put me a good game.
The thing is, I find Claire's white ball can be a bit out of control, but potting wise, she doesn't miss much. When she's playing well, she'll just sort of roll everything in.
Yeah, and I think we were 5-5, so you're under a bit of pressure then, and she was potting really well. And again, sometimes you play a safety, leave kind of a long shot on, and not really. But when I was doing that, she was just nailing these pots, so that put me under a bit more pressure, and and then I think there was an in off from her that gave me the 6-5, I think, and then it was 7-6. So kind of crawled over the line a little bit there, but sometimes I don't mind that, especially if you play the next day, you reset and you go again. You're just happy to kind of get through. Obviously, I waited around a little bit, but obviously I knew I'd never be playing you because you got to the final. So that was pushed to the next day. And again, obviously you've played that. I played okay in parts, but again, I think it just took too long to settle, to get going. And by that time, you're ahead and you're playing, so.
Yeah, I played some decent stuff, I think, in our match. There was some ropey stuff as well where we've both just looked at each other and been like, what are we doing? But yeah, you could see sort of at the beginning you weren't really there, and then in the middle you guys come back, didn't you? And then there was one that hung on the jaws that I think would have made it 5-4, and then it's
yeah. So I'd been back in the game, and it obviously just didn't drop, and then obviously and again I think it was a difficult one for me because obviously I was trying to play my game, so I was trying to play confidently when the clearance was there to take them, because I think you have to play like that. But also I'm very, very aware that when I play yourself, if I'm playing that, then the balls are open and the chances are I'm not coming back. So I think that was especially early on. I was missing balls with that in mind, and then you doing exactly what I thought was clearing up. But I didn't particularly want to change my game and go to a negative game, because I don't think that's. Sometimes you have to do that, but sometimes you have to try and play your way back in.
Yeah, I think the only time you need to go to a more negative type of game is if the rules dictate that. I think if you kind of manufacture that, you can kind of get yourself out of a bit of rhythm, can't you? And then get in your own head about not playing the right shots.
But it's tough, and again, a lot of people will say, you don't play the player, you play the balls. I agree with that on to some level, but I also don't. That makes sense, because I just, like I said, you've got to be aware of who you are playing, and sometimes you will change your shot choice based on that, I think. And like I said, again, I'm wary in my mind that, again, if I don't take this chance is probably going to. So sometimes that can really work for you because it really focus you, and sometimes it can, you make a bit more nervous or a bit negative. But sometimes you're playing somebody else that isn't on form, or is a little bit lower ranked down the field. You might play a shot to break something, not thinking that they're not going to come back and clear. Is that a bad attitude? Some people will say yes, some people will agree with me. I'm not sure. So
I think it very much is a judgment call. I mean, the Lee, who I practice with a lot, is a good friend, backed me for years. When I first knew him, he used to say that he played every frame. Like, Mick Hill is his idol, right?
Yeah.
To the point where it's a bit cringy, but
has he got a poster on his wall?
I mean, probably. But he used to say he played every frame like he played Mick Hill, and I'm like, but Mick is arguably the greatest of all time. So you're taking on maybe like a 20% chance because you think you've got to get them, or you're going to lose fame. And that isn't the reality when you're playing everybody. Yes, at the top level in the men's, it probably is the reality. But in our game, for the majority, you're not playing Mick Hill.
No.
You know, so it's a judgment call, isn't it? You would never leave anyone sort of like an open table when they've got 7 open balls.
No, of course not.
But if there's 2 or 3 tied up, are you potentially open your balls up and saying if you get them, fair play?
I think like you said, I think that's a judgment, isn't it, into every player. But yeah, so a disappointing tour for me in terms of results. But the big saying, isn't it? I either sulk about it or I go away and I practice more and I try and learn from it. Which I've got better at. I've got better at kind of looking at positives, as I spoke to you about. There has to be some positives in there, and then you have to try and find them.
I think you're similar to me in that after a loss, you'll have 10-15 minutes maybe of sulking, for want of a bit. I know I sulk for like 10-15 minutes, not sure sulking.
Just being really down on yourself or just frustrated or whatever.
Then you get on with life, don't you? You sort of start to have a bit of perspective and take the positives and forget about it almost. Like for me, like the worst thing you can do after I've lost a match, I won't go and sit on my own for hours. You know what I mean? That's the time I will go and speak to someone. Or just be out or be around it rather than just
sat there dwelling on it.
100%.
Yeah, so again, like I said, obviously I wasn't on the stream this week, rightly so, because Becky moaned about it.
Becky moaned? Never.
No,
I was joking with her. We're not. To anyone that thinks we're just slagging off, we're not.
No, we're not. I've absolutely jokes with Becky about it, of course.
Absolutely. I mean, I was joking with her on the when she did that. Actually, I saw her in Starbucks. When she said, "Oh, I've just kicked." She said it joking about.
Of course,
because she was already ready to play and mentally set herself. And I get that there wasn't a lot of notice. I was like, throwing your weight around there, you're number one, and you're sort of having a.
She pulls the strings.
Yeah.
But I mean, I suppose we can kind of link that in, I suppose, with something that Chris Day has said to mention about, which was, should the shot clock be in play on the outside tables? Should a match clock be in play on the outside tables? Should that be a thing, or should you be playing the full race out?
I mean, this weekend for me the issue is the consistency because of the issues with the technology or whatever else it was, resources. I know the referees had some sickness, so they were short-manned at times. I played on the sort of pro tables, the outside streams on each separate day, and each day was different conditions. So the first day it was match clock and 30-second shot clock the whole way through.
Yeah.
Second day was no match clock at all, but still the shot clock. And the third day was match clock and then 15 seconds for the last 10 minutes.
That's completely different.
The issue for me is that consistency. I fully believe there should be match clock and shot clock on every pro table because I think that is what has helped. Obviously, UP have done a lot of things right, but I think when it comes to the broadcasting, the stories they want to tell, I think that is a big step forward in terms of not having 3-hour-long matches, which can happen if you play a race out, particularly in the women's, without being it's generally a little bit slower.
Yeah.
I think, I absolutely believe there should be a match clock, shot clock on every pro table, but that is obviously resource technology dependent. The issue for me was the consistency, but I would like to see a match and shot clock in every single match I play personally.
You would.
Yeah, correct. Cannot concentrate. 50 minutes is perfect for me. Sweet stuff.
No, I agree. But like you said, and I think obviously the reason we've done that is because we're obviously talking about Becky moaning. We're obviously only joking with that, but she had a point. You know, she played a game on that table the day before under a match clock, and she didn't particularly want to play another one on there. You know. I think it happened last season with Kirsty, where I think, and again, everyone wants to watch Kirsty, so that's the compliment that's there. Because do we want her on the stream? Because she's fantastic to watch, but she was going into her fourth game, I think, and they put her on the stream again, and she was like, "It's a bit of a pressure on me here. Everyone else is playing to a race on the outside tables. I'm constantly under this much pressure." So, like I said, I don't think I think if you went to everybody and just said, like you said, obviously we're not at a stage where we can do that yet. Whereas, but you're going into every pro table is exactly the same. I don't think anybody would have an issue with that because they would know exactly that. I think the problem is going from playing a full length race to 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever it is in the men's to then suddenly only having 50 minutes. And it can absolutely very, very different. And it can work both ways. Like, let's take me and you, for example, because we're here. I'm not the favourite in that game. So sometimes I'll be thinking, well, I'd rather play a full race because if I go, a little bit behind, I can shut it down a bit. I can play a bit safer. I can try and catch up. I can use, there is no time to use. So that I can, but on the flip side, let's say I start well and I get ahead. It can also work in that favour because chances are, like you said, if I'm 4-2 up, even 5-2 up, you'd still back yourself to be winning that game 7-5 or 7-6. So with the match clock though, with 5 minutes, 10 minutes left to go, you're probably not the favourite then. So
no, but I think that you have to just, for me, frame it in your mind as. For me, I use it to try and start well and having that concentration from the start, rather than thinking, oh, if I'm down, then I can always come back. When you're on a match clock, 50 minutes, for example, what ours is normally 50 minutes from the stream, then you have to be at it from the start, and you have to. Everything's got a little bit more sense of jeopardy. And I think that's a positive thing for the game and for the broadcast. And I actually think it helps. I think for the players, if you could approach it the right way, can really help with your concentration, your mindset, trying to be clinical, playing the right shots. And it's just about, for you, you're saying like potentially if you were behind, you might be able to start tying it up a bit more, or why not do that from the start if you're in playing someone where you think I'm not favourite. It's about how you kind of mentally approach it.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it's a game of balance, is it? Let's look at England football last night. Their tactics have to change because they're down to 10 men, so they have to go to a defensive thing. They obviously don't want to play like that. They've not, they've not started out to play in that manner. But same with Pool. You don't set out thinking, oh, negative, let's go behind. I'm just saying sometimes you have to change.
Yeah.
But again, that's not necessarily correct. Some people just say, well, you should just play your game regardless, and you should focus on that. So, but I don't mind the shot clock. I don't mind the match clock. But I think, like you said, the only issue is it should be consistent across the tournament. You shouldn't be mix and matching what conditions you're playing under.
Yeah.